have your fear, which might become reality. And you have Godzilla, which is reality.
I'm sick of Godzilla. Wake up, everyone! There are two things you don't know about the Earth. One is me, and the other is Godzilla.
We're safe enough. No human being can understand that. The monsters on Monster Island can understand it.
Whether he returns or not, or is never again seen by human eyes, the things he has taught us remain.
Hello everyone, Jakey here with YHS on Monster Island, and yes, I am by myself. The great Tattooed Titan of Tokusatsu, Mr. Jacob Walsh, is out at DragonCon in Atlanta doing his thing with Craig, Abby, the whole YHS crew. You know, every year they do DragonCon, and you know, it always looks like an awesome time. So I know they're having a great time. And then I tried to get our good buddy Ryan Wilhelm, the Woo Ya Woo kid himself, but he is busy and tied up at the moment. But that's okay. I can get through this by myself. If you can bear with me, if you can put up a little bit of just Jay, then I think we'll be okay, because we do have some things to talk about. We had a big weekend on the Kaiju front here in Dallas, Fort Worth. We'll get to that in a bit. You know, I watched some things. I bought some things. There's some news out there and just a little bit of everything. So I do think it's worth getting on here and chatting for a bit. Don't want to miss too many bi-weekly installments of YHS on Monster Island, or you guys might forget about us. And rightly so. But real quick, you know, if you guys are bored and you have some spending money and maybe you need to amp up the wardrobe, we do have some new shirts, YHS on Monster Island shirts at that, on the below the collar page for YHS. And I believe we have our base one, which has been on there forever, which is our cool logo done by Baducci Studios. But we also have the No One Likes Manda, because no one likes Manda. And the hashtag 8989 is on there as well. So pretty cool stuff. If you want to go out there and support us with some cool t-shirts, I do recommend that. The other thing, and I don't know how many of you guys already know this, and if you don't, maybe you're fans or friends with Kaiju Kim. She's in our Kaiju creator community. She's run Chill with Kaiju Kim. I know they do it every now and then. She's a video editor. And Danny DeMana, he did the Show Down Spectacular for us. He heads up the Godzilla novelization project. They're in the midst of a big, ambitious Kickstarter called Erica. Erica as in Erica Shiragami, the daughter of Dr. Shiragami, who in Godzilla vs. Biollante dies, and her spirit, you know, is part of the creation process of Biollante. And it's diving into that, I don't want to say evolution, that process, right? It's a really cool, very kind of micro view of a story in a film we all love. And they're wanting to do this animated short. They have some really good people on board. The animation, you know, they promise is going to be great. But like a lot of Kickstarters, started out strong, and there's a little bit of a lull. So we need you guys, go check it out. It's on Kickstarter. Just search Erica with a K. And I think you'll be blown away by just the little teasers that they've had. And that's like the rough cut animation, right? I think it's a really cool story. I know Danny will pin a really good script. So go out there and support it if you can. I've already pledged mine, and I really love passion projects like these that dive into such a specific part of a single Godzilla story and giving us something that we haven't seen before. So kudos to Kim, to Danny, to everybody involved in the project. I hope it gets pushed through the finish line, because I really want to see that done. And like I said, go out, check it out. Erica with a K on Kickstarter. Now, Jake and I usually start off with what would watch over the last couple of weeks. And I've been a little busy with Kaiju Go, but the night before, good buddy John Yurcaba, IDW comic artist and special guest at Kaiju Go, he came in. He was staying at our house, and I decided to put on some Spectreman. And John wasn't super familiar with it. I think he'd seen a few episodes or whatnot, but it had been a while. And I was like, dude, you got to watch some Dr. Gory. I mean, if anything, just to get some sweet hand motions for tomorrow for your big interview with Bob Eggleton at Kaiju Go. And we were watching it and just laughing and having a great time. We watched the English dubs. And I love Spectreman. I mean, it is the ultimate, like, put it on, especially the dubs, put it on at night, and it's goofy and it's silly and it's always fun. And Dr. Gory is the greatest villain, maybe just the greatest villain, period. And he's wonderful. And actually, I do think there is some depth to Dr. Gory. I mean, yeah, it's a bad monkey mask in a pinkish purple suit and blonde wig. I get it. It's hard to take serious and all the weird hand motions. But like, he kind of wants to cleanse the earth of us because he wants to save its beauty and take it over. Like, you kind of understand where he's coming from. You know, this was the height of the awareness around pollution and these giant cities, the mega cities like Tokyo, just becoming havens of pollution and smog and all that good stuff. So, you know, they always say the best villains are the ones you can understand a little bit of their motivation. And I think that's the case with Gory. But anyway, silly show. And then I showed him some Fireman, some Magma Man, the English subs. And, you know, a Tokusatsu show, you know, around the same time that, you know, it plays it more straight. It's less of I mean, it's all silly, but it's less silly. And you have, you know, great actors that we're familiar with from Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla and Return of Ultraman and Himitsu Sentai Go Ranger and stuff. And they're playing it straight. And these are great actors and actresses. And it's just taken more seriously. Like, there's more depth to it. It's less of we can just do whatever we want because that's the genre. And it's a little bit more of hey, we'll try to explain this the best that we can and grounded in some, you know, pseudoscience. But it's a fun watch too in a different way. And they're both equally good. I love Fireman. I think I love the design of Fireman. I love the fighting scenes, the battle scenes, great stuff. But, you know, you don't have a Dr. Gory in it. And so we had a great time watching some Spectreman and Fireman. And in fact, the funny thing is Spectreman and Dr. Gory got brought up in John's interview at Kaiju Go, which was hilarious. Unplanned, but we found a way to work it in there. But that's it, guys. Like, I haven't watched a ton. I'm excited for Kaiju Go being over and things a little bit slower, don't have any toy shows coming up, to be able to just sit down and kind of relax and watch some good kaiju movies, some that I haven't seen in a while, some of my favorites. You know, I mean, it's been a few months since I watched some Yamato Takaru. I think long overdue in my book for some, you know, some wear magic and lightsaber battles on the moon or whatever. But I'm excited for that. But I guess technically I did watch another show. My kids are really into Godzilla's Revenge now, and they absolutely love it. And they don't even make me fast forward just to the Godzilla part. So I watched the whole thing, which is wonderful. And so that's been playing a lot in the background, which isn't bad. Not complaining. I love me some Godzilla's Revenge, you know, for what it is. But, you know, that's been really all I've had a chance to watch recently. But, you know, we do have some news. And I want to talk about the news. I'm going to go over some pickups. I got a ton of pickups. Some I'm really excited about. And then we can talk a little Kaiju Go. And I'll give you some of my, you know, I wasn't there in the trenches from a fan standpoint because I was busy doing the booth and doing some stuff kind of in the trenches behind the scenes, if you will. So I that's why I was hoping Ryan could join tonight to give us another perspective of what he saw. But, you know, we'll have time to do that. And there's been some really cool articles and reviews already posted. And we're just been blown away by the response. But we'll get to that at the end. Pardon me, I am finding some massive allergies here. So if you hear me chugging some water on here, apologies in advance. I hope it doesn't ruin your listening experience. But anyway, so on to some news. You know, I think the biggest thing that came through since the last time we spoke, and just kind of a few days ago, was the release of the official Godzilla e-com site, the US Godzilla site. And look, I've heard a lot of stuff. Like, at the end of the day, I want to preface it with this. We now have a way for people to get some really cool items across the board, from apparel to toys, from a US distribution center, cheaper, faster, and just totally more accessible. It's a win. And, you know, it's day 3 or whatever of it. Like, you know, we want to give them a break for what they have. But there's still a lot of cool stuff on there. Some cool apparel, some cool stuff. I don't know if there's anything that like blew me away. I think it's going to be a great resource for those that are heavy Bandai collectors. I think there was a lot of Bandai exclusives and some stuff on there. And then it's another site, another, you know, channel, a distribution channel to get things like Super 7 and hopefully Mondo and some other things will filter in there with partnerships and such. So that's really cool. it's going to change and grow. I mean, you go on there, and for us, Safubi collectors, yeah, there might have been like one really great Marasan header at 350 on there. But here's the thing. It's the Pop Star one. That thing was really expensive. And I don't know when it first came out, and it was $120 on there. That's a win. And I know then you have a lot of folks like, that sellers. And, I kind of walk both lines that were, I don't know if they're scared of it coming out, but, they're like, oh, this could really hurt some of the, no, I don't think so. I think this is all good. It gets people the ability to get really cool stuff from Japan. I'm very excited for it. I don't know if there was a ton of stuff that interests me, that piqued my interest, but that's okay. That's okay. There's nothing wrong with that whatsoever. It's a great place, and it's something that I think will continue to grow and expand, and it might become the number one Safubi shop in the US. And that, hey, it is what it is, man. Toku Toy Town is, we'll do okay, but I was really pumped about it. I'm glad a lot of folks had a positive experience, even though that maybe the roster of inventory didn't blow anybody's socks off, but it's still better than not having it. And they're going to get the feedback. They're going to grow it. It's going to be good stuff. So that was the big thing. I'm curious, like, did everybody, anybody, whatever, have a good experience or a bad experience? Let us know. I'm curious. But I do think, like I said, I think overall it's a very, very, very positive thing for the community. The other thing, also, I can't believe it. We are a week away from Gamera coming out on Netflix. I kind of forgot about that. Sorry, that just popped across the screen. I was like, holy buckets. Like, I love all the designs. I think it's going to be great. I think as much as we were kind of on on Skull Island, I think this is going to be really good. And I'm kind of nervous. I'm getting my hopes up pretty high, but I can't believe that's a week away. It's a week away. We're going to have Gamera and these radical new designs from some of the most famous Gamera Gamera enemies on Netflix. Wow, it's crazy. So I'm excited for that, but no more updates on that other than like, well, I can't believe we're a week away. The other thing, I don't know if you guys saw, I think I have a photo here. Did you guys see that they are continuing the Godzilla shorts as part of Godzilla Fest in Japan on Godzilla Day on November 3rd? We were a little concerned because you have this whole new movie, this whole -1, right, coming out. And I thought that they might punt what they did with Godzilla versus Gigan and Godzilla versus Hedorah and their 50th anniversaries. But we are getting one. They did the fundraising link came up, and they had some kind of a few images of them working on a Jet Jaguar suit. Look at this. Like, Showa era Jet. I mean, yes, sign us up. I wonder if it's going to be Jet and Megalon, if it's going to be Godzilla and Jet doing something. You can go so many different ways. But I love they're bringing back the Showa suit. We're going to get some suitmation. Those shorts have been awesome. I mean, last year we got 2 because technically we got the Gigan Rex stuff. But I'm not saying I'm more excited for that than -1 because it's a feature-length film. But I'm kind of really excited for Jet in a short, especially Showa Jet. Yeah, I'm really excited for that. And I was so excited to see that come out just to confirm. I mean, I think we all knew, I don't want to say that because I'll admit, I'll raise my hand. I was nervous when we've been getting a little bit less Jet stuff than maybe the other monsters on their 50th and Megalon too. Now, granted, we got some other Jet stuff with Singular Point and stuff, so I can't really complain too much. But I was leading into it, and I was like, and then of course the announcement of the movie. And then like you started hearing things, I started feeling a little bit more confident. But I mean, that's amazing. So we're gonna get Gamera on Netflix. And then November, we're gonna get a new Godzilla movie, which we'll see in December. We're gonna get a Godzilla versus Jet Jaguar, some form or fashion short with Showa Jet. And then whenever the MonsterVerse Apple TV Plus show comes out, man, it is a good time to be a kaiju fan. I mean, geez. And it's okay. And I don't care your thoughts on MonsterVerse. I don't care your thoughts on Jet Jaguar. I don't care your thoughts on Gamera. But like, look at it. I mean, the toys, we got a US toy shop, e-com shop open up. It's getting us better access to Godzilla toys. We're getting Gamera stuff and Jet Jaguar stuff and Monsterverse stuff. I mean, the toys are covered. The films and media is covered. And oh yeah, I don't think I've ever seen it where we're getting all these conventions and I'll call them events popping up. I mean, yes, we have G-Fest, and G-Fest is going to be the mothership. It's the mainstay. There's 7,000 Godzilla fans that congregate to the outskirts of Chicago. It's the best. The end. Period. End of sentence. You have what Days of the Dead is doing with All Monsters Attack. You know, they ran Indianapolis last year, Chicago this year. They just finished one in LA that seemed to be kind of an express version, like a lot of kaiju, maybe not as big as their Indianapolis one, or excuse me, their Chicago one. And you have those that are kind of like, these are cons, right? Like these are multi-day events with lots of celebrity guests, with artists and vendors and panels and such, which are really cool. But, you know, and I like to think we at Kaiju Go were, you know, on the forefront of this as well. But like these smaller one-day events, and I say smaller just in like kind of their focus, that are a little bit more digestible. It's not a con, you know, it's not a 3-day event, that are coming up. Not only did we have Kaiju Go this last week, you had the amazing, a couple weeks ago, you had Japan World Heroes out in Los Angeles. You had Burbank. You had Godzilla Fest in the Bay Area, which was tons of movies. You have Godzilla Thon coming up in Portland, the Pacific Northwest. And then Kaiju Brooklyn was just announced. Since the last time we recorded. And, you know, I don't want to say like, not because it's a secret of who's behind it, but I don't want to misrepresent who's running that. I think it's the great John Bellotti artist, Robo 7 does this stuff, but I might be wrong. But anyway, but he's already had a lot of great announcements for vendors and artists. And that's going to be a cool thing. Very similar to Kaiju Go in the sense that like it's a one-day event in a big city and they're bringing in artists and they have a dedication to film and toys and all that good stuff. And I think that's great. I think that's building up these communities in these markets where, yeah, I'm sure LA and New York, I get it. And even San Francisco, Oakland area, like, and the Pacific Northwest, both Seattle and Portland, they have existing and strong kaiju communities, but like building them up in places like Dallas and Indianapolis and stuff like that is really cool too. I'm excited to see where this goes and if this is a trend. You know, if we're at the tip of the spear of a big trend where all of these markets are going to try to do some very kaiju related stuff. And I'm not just saying play a Godzilla movie. Because, yeah, we get that all the time. Alamo Drafthouse does that all the time. You know, a lot of the independent theaters do that. But I'm talking like where you're bringing in artists, you're bringing in vendors, and you're really promoting the thriving community that is kaiju. It's a really fun time to be a kaiju fan. It really is, guys. Holy buckets. But yeah, other than that, not a lot of news. I know there were a few like pop-up, Marathon pop-up exclusives and some things like that, but nothing really newsworthy, I don't think. So I want to get into some pickups because I had some cool ones and some I got before Kaiju Go and then some that were specific to it because I do want to highlight some of the great vendors and artists that we had there. But I do want to share some stuff, including one, not like a top 10, but actually a really cool pickup that I got that I kind of wasn't expecting. So, well, I'll start there because I think it's fun. I've talked about this a lot at various points on YHS on Monster Island, and I really had a huge conversation, hour-long conversation with Ryan Wilhelm on the drive up to G-Fest. And I think we discussed this concept of the most important Godzilla toys, not the best, not our favorite, but really the toys that you have to mention them when you tell the story of Godzilla toys. Godzilla, I'll even say merchandise, but really focusing kind of on like toys. And, you know, we're talking like, okay, let's think of like a 10 or 15 of them that like you really have to have and like a specific toy, not just like a toy line. And once again, not saying these are the best because, you know, it's all subjective, but like a little bit more subjective even. But these are the ones that we know that did a good, and to me, like most important means it really did fill a need and kept the kaiju collecting fandom or kaiju collecting hobby going when it might have been less robust as it is now, less rich, less fertile as it is now when you have 7,000 new Sofubis coming out every day, and you have X Plus and Star Ace giving us Kaiju this and that on the the high end, super detailed Spectrum. You have Super 7 and Mondo and Haya Toys and Bandai doing stuff, getting stuff out there for folks. Like, it's just nuts. But obviously there were times, especially in the US, where that didn't exist. So we were thinking about it, and and I don't remember that entire list, but it was things like the JTail LTail, the 66 Marasan, or the 70 Bullmark giant Godzilla that was in Godzilla versus Hedorah. We talked about the Marasan 10 toy, the Aurora model kit, even in the Popey Jumbosaurus, of course the Shogun Godzilla, of course, from both a Japanese and an American perspective. The Imperial Godzilla. That was a huge period of time where there was no Godzilla in the US, and the Imperial one, I mean, hell, it was on Roseanne, right? That's one that's important. That 62 Bandai that was released in 83, the first one that kind of got the Godzilla collection, which I think you could argue is one of the most important collections in the history of Godzilla. That first Bandai one that ran from 83 to 95. And if that 62 would have tanked, we could have been in trouble. I mean, you could argue that the Yamakatsu stuff that came out the same year, but to me, it's the Betamax of that battle. But we were talking about things, and one that popped up that was the Popey King Saurus Godzilla. That mold was used for the Godzilla's gang for Mattel that came out in the 70s and late 70s. And once again, that was one of those pieces that was a lot of folks' introduction to Godzilla, and definitely introduction to Godzilla toys. And so I was able to pick up at a really good price. And I was looking for the Popey because I was like, I want the Japanese one. It's a little bit bigger. I like the paint job on it, but and it was an important toy because it gave us. But if I really thought about it, I was like, no, I think I kind of want the Mattel one, because the Godzilla's gang is so critical to keeping Godzilla top of mind to kids and toy collectors. So I found one still in bag with the label on it. Look at that, guys. Look at that. But still in bag. Here he is, that Popey King Saurus design. I know it's kind of hard to see through the bag, but look at him. And I do feel that this piece right here, absolutely, it's Godzilla and all these ultra kaiju that are his gang, which I love. It's like you have Godzilla hanging out with King Joe and Ella King and Icarus and all those dudes and Miklos and you name it. But yeah, I mean, this is such a cool piece, and I'm glad to have it. I'm going to put it right there with my Imperial and my Bullmark 70 and my Marasan 66 and all those guys. I'm a Bandai 83 and stuff. So that was a cool pickup. I was really excited. A lot of my other pickups, to be honest with you, really. Oh, actually, I got one more Godzilla one. I'd say they really kind of skewed more vinyl toy, or designer toy, excuse me. A lot of these are vinyl toys, but this one was, it's funny, I say it wasn't a top 10. When I released the very first top 10 of my kind of holiday wish list, it was on there, the original. This is a reissue. And when it comes to X Plus, that means nothing to me. I don't care. It's all about representing the suit, and it makes me remember the suit and what I love about the suit, and it's great. But this was on there. I did remove it, this last one, as I've fallen out of favor a little bit with X Plus, or a bit more picky. I wouldn't say fallen out of favor, just more picky. And it's the 68 30 centimeter that comes with the Minya. And so I did pick that up. It was recently reissued on the Shonen Rick site. So you got it for steel instead of paying those ridiculous secondhand ones for the original. So here's the Godzilla in his 68 glory. Look at that. He's ready to destroy all monsters. And of course, the piece de la resistance of this pair is right here. There he is, our favorite, everybody's favorite, the definitely not controversial Manila Minya. Right? Look at these guys. I mean, but this is a beautiful thing. I'm so do I have any more X Plus coming? Yeah, I think this is it. Yeah, I mean, I have a Spiral GMK, but that's it. So, I mean, I really am kind of I don't want to say I'm not selling any of my old stuff, but I'll take that back, maybe one or two, but I'm just not adding to the collection. So the 68 was a good pickup for me because I did want to get that one. And like I said, reissues on X Plus, because it is a secondary, tertiary line now, or brand that I collect, because it doesn't really fit and I have very limited space for it. It's really just about the ones that speak to me and I absolutely love. And that's one that I do. Oh, you know what? I totally forgot. I got a couple other things. I almost forgot this. I'll go through these, and I'm going to grab one up here. I totally forgot that I was going to grab. So hold on one second. But actually, before I do that, I did get a couple cool things. So from Unbox Industries, I love those guys. They do great stuff. I've never collected the Rhino Beetle. My buddy Sweaty Vinyl, Michael Lynch at Sweaty Vinyl Instagram, one of the coolest dudes out there with the best collections. He does, and he snagged this, and I missed out on the pre-order, but he was able to. He has like 1,000 of these, so he gave me one. He didn't give me one. He sold me one. And I was able to finally get one of these awesome Rhino Beetles. This is the Sunrise variant. I love the colorway. I love everything about this guy. He comes on his little log here, little stick. But this is everything that's great in designer toys. If they're like, why do you like designer toys? I give them Rhino Beetle. I'm like, this is why I like it. That is amazing. It's fun. It's cute. It's beautifully painted. It's beautifully sculpted. It's one of those it's the simplicity makes it elegant and beautiful. It's whimsical. It's silly. But yet it is just a piece, like a work of art, a piece of art. Absolutely adore this. It's one of my absolute favorites. In that same vein, another guy that does great stuff, Joseph Harmon. He's probably, I think recently his Dino Bites line has really been his most popular. And so I decided to finally jump into that line, and I got the most recent shaved ice variant. So look at this guy. He's this clunky robot dinosaur looking guy. And this is totally in the red, white, and blue of a snow cone. Like, you just want to eat this guy on 4th of July. But look, you open him up. Let me open up his guts here. And there, y'all, his circuitry and some of his metal rib cage. And look at that. So many variants. This is actually stuffed with what appears to be like almost like a cotton blend. But yeah, you can kind of see that in there where the white is. But so good. I mean, look at that face. Look at that. Absolutely love this. I don't know if I'm going to dive deep into these. This was actually one of my favorite of all the variants that I've seen. So I was like, oh, I'm going to get that. I'm going to get that. So the Rhino Beetle from Unbox and Joseph Harmon's Dinobites, two of my favorites. So that wasn't all. So everybody knows I collect Galaxor, and I do like a couple pieces. Like once again, that's when they speak to me, I get them. What Galaxor does, I love that sleek, simple, retro, futuristic. But they went totally out of left field to me, in my opinion, for PowerCon, and did something a little bit more kind of Masters of the Universe-y, but still like it kind of loosely fits in that world. And they did this really cool C-Rex. So look at this guy. He's this like purple, blue. I mean, has a very Masters of the Universe style chest, almost a Ninja Turtles style lower half. But then, it still kind of fits within that Galaxor world. I absolutely love this guy. He's silly and dumb and cool, but the colors are awesome. I do dig the sculpt. It's silly. Like I said, it's fun and silly. But I picked that up. I saw that and I was like, I got to pick that up. And it was a PowerCon exclusive. So I obviously wasn't at PowerCon, but I think he had a few left over. So he put a few on the site. So I was able to snag it, which made me very, very happy. But hold on one second. I want to grab a couple other pieces that I totally forgot about. Hold on one second.
番組録画して自分だけのカラオケテープ作ったりして
日本全国津々ラララ今度は歌える G ビデオラララ
新登場
すごい簡単気持ちいい
Okay, I'm back. So anyway, I totally forgot about these because I got them a while back, but after our last recording. But, I love Tom Whalen's art. He's great. And I was kind of slow to the party on a lot of the vinyl toys. So I never got his Whaleontology trio until now. And man, these things are giant and they're heavy. But this came through Sideshow, and they were running a really great discount. I was like, holy cow, I totally forgot about these. So I did finally pick them up. But look at this guy. Look at this. This is the Gentleman Rex here. I mean, this thing weighs like 700 pounds. Look at that. Sophobia does not. And then the Mosasaur, the pirate Mosasaur. Look at this guy. This is something else, man. These are great. I mean, yeah, these are just wonderful pieces. But they are big and heavy. And my favorite of the trio is this astronaut Brachiosaurus, which, look at this guy. Look at this. Holy cow. Look how beautiful this is. This is gorgeous. I'm going to pop his head off here real quick. Look at this. Look how awesome that is. Really captures the art style. I love these. And I will really, really, really cherish them and display them prominently. And of course, I guess I can't have a pickup without another 89, right? So I did get number 84 in the quest for 8989s. Number 84. We're in the final 5, guys. And it's this really cool Arctic-y Godzilla. Now, there have been some that have been gray blanks, but this is that kind of that marbling effect that they do, and it's a white and a gray. Like I said, kind of like a snowy white and a gray leaning on the blue side. It's a really cool piece. It actually, I think, looks better in person than a lot of the other marble ones do. I really like this piece. But he's number 84, and he's ready to rock and roll. But I do dig this piece. I'm going to have to be careful here. This Mosasaur sword is really close to him. If I have to bend down or something, I'm going to stab my eye out. So that's all of my non-Kaiju Go pickups, but I do want to highlight some of my Kaiju Go pickups. Then I will talk about the event and just some of my thoughts on it, which won't take too long. So we had a lot of wonderful vendors there, wonderful artists, wonderful vendors. And I want to start with maybe the most of the toy makers, one of the most famous and definitely a guy that folks in the vinyl toy world, the art toy world, the folk art world, the designer vinyl world, they know this guy, and that's Chance Priest of Victory Comics. His Warriors of the Universe line. Let's just put it like this. It's done as kind of a handmade, like these handmade art toys that are homages to kind of bootleg toys that also have a supporting comic book done in that same kind of very primitive art style, which is so unique and nobody else is doing it. It's so big that he's bootlegged the bootleg. I mean, like, that's how big it is. Chance is a great guy, and he's just he's the perfect example. And why I think he's so important in this toy collecting world. He's the perfect example of he's created his own style and has built a community around it and a network. And his items are cool and beautiful and unique and just different than anything else. And when I saw it at Kaiju Go, I think that was the biggest takeaway was, and I'd seen Chance booth at other places, but like up against some of the other art and art toys, it just how unique all of the vendors were. And that was our goal. Like, we didn't want 7 people that do the same type of homage to Godzilla, right? And Chance's toys range from big, scary, monstrous, kaiju-looking guys that could be part of they look like they could be inspired by Harryhausen, and then some that look like they're inspired by Masters of the Universe, and some that look like they're inspired by some swampy voodoo folktale that, his grandma told him, right? Like, so I just don't have any comparison point to his stuff, and that's a great thing. But I did want to pick up my first Warriors of the Universe toy. And when I see the first time I ever heard of Warriors of the Universe, I was walking into a retro expo in Plano, Texas, a toy show. And I've boothed at him. I've talked about Retro Expo on here a few times. And I go in, and the first thing I see is this giant, 4 foot, I'm guessing paper mache head of this, like, the best way I can describe it is this kind of like mummy cyclops monster looking head. And the monster's name is Kutu. And it's kind of one of his flagship toys. And so he did some cool vinyl ones. And I pulled a blank pink one that I thought was just wacky and awesome. So these are big boys, but it's some really cool painted ones. But they're all handmade, hand painted. Well, the ones that are painted. This one wasn't. Hand painted in by Chance in his warehouse at his factory there in North Texas. And So cool. And, I said, I wish you could see the detail here. It's hard with a blank, but these things are just like, gross in a good way. Right. And just gory and primitive and just, I don't know. It's really cool. It's like Paul Gauguin became a toy maker. Yeah, it's very cool. So go check out Warriors of the Universe and Chance Priest. They do really cool stuff. The other one I wanted to share was from artist David DeGrand, and David was at the show, and he could have come just as an artist. His stuff for The Simpsons and Nickelodeon, for SpongeBob, he does a lot of the comic work for them, and amongst other things. I mean, his resume is very long on his accomplishments in the world of art, and he has a very unique style. It's that kind of Nicktoonsy, Ren and Stimpy. It can play in the world of The Simpsons. It can play in the world of SpongeBob. It can play in grosser things. It can do really whatever. He's that talented. But he's launched a toy line called Nasty Noggins, and he was going to do an event exclusive for us called Toxic Mask Max. And the images were this green and orange, kind of Nickelodeon inspired. Looked like the best way I could describe it is like a robot, like a Robbie the Robot, like retro style robot with a head that was a part Toxic Avenger, part somebody that would be in like Road Warrior, Mad Max, and that big post-apocalyptic Lord Humongous style thing. So anyway, when I get there, it was the first place I went to grab one because I knew he only probably brought a few, and I wanted to make sure I got one because I really did want it. And I see that he has a blue and a pink colorway, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's speaking to me. And so I picked this up. So this is Toxic Mask Max. I'll do the unveiling here. Here's this really cool speckled blue vinyl, kind of old school robot body. And then you have this like gross, gooey looking pink face. And then you have like the like I said, the Mad Max post-apocalyptic kind of mask on it there with nuts and bolts and lots of that. It's just, and one eyeball here, one eyeball's hanging out. So you have that kind of Toxic Avenger, that kind of gory, Garbage Pail Kids type approach to it. But this thing is great. Like, holy cow. Like when I bought this, I was like, yes, like make more of these. So I'm really excited to see what his Nasty Noggins line does. And the stuff that I've seen so far has been wonderful. So another one of the toy makers that I'd known about for a while, and I'm not saying like we wouldn't have done Kaiju Go if he said he didn't want to do it, but he was definitely one of the guys where like first ballot, like we got to get this guy. Like he's in the vicinity, like geographically, he does awesome stuff. But we also know he goes to like 5 Points in Designer Con, and maybe he doesn't want to do little old Kaiju Go, but luckily he did. And that is Michael Morse of Michael Morse Art Toys. And he's known for your Cultraman and Big Boji. You can see my Big Boji up there. And he's had a couple different variants since then. He had an orange and green one at the show that was really cool. He does your Cultraman. He does the masks for your Safubi, so you can make your Godzilla turn into C-3PO, or you can turn your your Mechagodzilla into Chewbacca, or you can turn your Gorgo into Hedorah. His new one he brought there was a Minya mask, and oh my gosh, it was creepy and wonderful, like total nightmare fuel, but also totally awesome. And people have already been like kind of using it and putting it on other toys, and it's just awesome. But I wanted to pick up one of his older pieces that I never had, but it was this cool colorway, and that's his Little Smogger, the Save the Earth. So it's a 2-pack. You get this little Smogger, which is a beautiful little sculpt, kind of in that kind of crude way, but like you just get like very good vibes, like very good artsy vibes from this. But it also comes with a record player with this little Save the Earth popping out of it in the word bubble. So look at this. I mean, Michael, this is too good. It's too good. So I'm going to put this up there with my Big Boji, which will be my little Michael Morse collection up there. I got to get a Cultraman. I was going to go back and do it, but like time got away, and we'll talk about that in a bit. So there was that. Going back to David DeGrand, I forgot. I also picked up, not only did he do that Toxic Mask Max at Kaiju Go, he also did this amazing, and he teased this, and we did a little post for it leading up to the show, this really cool Godzilla versus Hedorah in his art style, but done as kind of the movie poster done as kind of like a newspaper ad. But I don't know if it'll come across great on the screen here, but if you can see this, but look at this. It's, his style. it's almost like Reptar versus this sludgy monster. But it's done in this really cool newspaper style and like newspaper paper. Very unique. And I don't have anything else like that. So it's like, of course I got to grab it. Another artist that was there, and he wasn't a toy artist. He's just an artist, a local artist that has done the circuit at All Monsters Attack. And he's, did the stuff at G-Fest and stuff, was Mike Keller. And I was unfamiliar with a lot of his work, and some of it was just awesome. And I'm so glad Mike was able to come out. But I picked up a couple of these little postcards from him over some, like secondary monsters. Like, of course I had to get a Gilala, but he also did the Gappa family, and he also did Yungari, and then, I guess I had to get a Godzilla too. I could have used come on, Mike, where's my Death Kappa or my Gorgo or my Takemajin? Come on now. But no, these were awesome. And Mike did some really, really cool stuff. So that was awesome. And then the last things that I picked up were on the art side, and I got a couple prints from Bob Eggleton, who was our special guest there, along with John Yurcaba. But these are really cool. All of these are signed by Bob, but I got a Burning Godzilla here. That was super awesome. I got this Godzilla 8485, which I think we've all seen this one before, one of Bob's best, but a signed print there. I absolutely love it. It's one of my favorites. And then I love this 50 years of Monster Zero that he did. He made a few years back in 2015, but I went ahead and got that one signed by him as well. So really cool stuff from Bob. And he had a ton of awesome prints. I almost pulled the trigger. I'm kind of regretting it, but I almost pulled the trigger on one of his original paintings, original pieces that got turned into a comic page. And he had some really cool ones. They're like, I don't even know. They weren't poster size. They were a little bit thinner and longer, but he had one with like Godzilla and Varan that were just, it was awesome. And some Anguirus ones that were just really cool. So Bob did some great stuff. So those are my pickups from Kaiju Go. I was very, very excited to be able to sneak away for a couple seconds to get some of this stuff. And the vendors, and I'll start there. So the vendors, I can't thank them enough, because not only did we have those guys that I mentioned, obviously John Yurcaba was there, and Chaz, who helped create Kaiju Go with me, had the Bangkongs were out in full glory. Gary Harmon of Toy Matrix, who I've talked about on the show a lot, one of the best guys in the business. He was one of our premium sponsors, and he was the longest line of the night because he had some awesome t-shirts and some other cool stuff. It just all worked out. All the vendors, it was the right amount of vendors and the right size. I wish we had a little bit bigger haul just from a crowd control standpoint, but those guys were awesome. I can't thank them enough for bringing some of the really like the coolest stuff. And I hope they all had a financially successful time on top of it being a fun night. As far as the event itself, guys, like, I'll start with this. The lead-in into the event, the days right before it, were so exciting. Chaz and I got to go on local TV on WFAA, our ABC affiliate, on Good Morning Texas. The lead-in from Good Morning America mentioned Godzilla. Jane McGarry, who's been a host there for a long time, held one of our pink Marasan Godzillas talking about it as a lead-in. And they secured footage to show. It was so cool. And then, kudos to Aaron Hunter, the co-host, the co-anchor that did our segment. It went off beautifully. We got to show the toys. We got to show some of the art from Bob and John and mention them. We got to talk about why we did it, the films that we're screening and why we chose those films. It was really cool. You can go to WFAA.com and search Good Morning Texas. The video is on there, but it was so fun. Then we had an article in Fort Worth Weekly, which is kind of the alternative to the 4-Star Telegram, which is the main paper in Fort Worth. And they have a huge online presence. They're a little bit more alternative newspaper and stuff, and would cover things like a kaiju convention. They ran an awesome article. And then I just found out today before we went on the air here that they did a review of the show, and it was very complimentary. So thank you to them and Cole Williams, the reporter there. And that was all very helpful because our ticket sales were really strong. But after those hit and day of, we brought this thing to a sellout. We sold it out beyond our wildest expectations. Chaz and I, the reason we did this was to help a thriving Dallas-Fort Worth kaiju community, or help build one. And little did we know it already existed. We had a hint. We were starting to get a hint, but we just needed a place for them to come and to support Godzilla and kaiju and talk to other kaiju friends and have a good time and watch some movies, look at some art, buy some toys, maybe a little cozier than we expected. And the 108-degree weather didn't help. Have a cocktail, talk about your favorite Godzilla movie, or why Gilal is the greatest monster design of all time, or whatever it may be. It was really, really cool. And from the time the doors opened, there was a line to get in. And I just sat there and I was like, okay, we're on to something here. Whether it makes us a penny or not, like, this is a place for these people to go to, and we can really, that maybe they couldn't drive out to Chicago for G-Fest or LA for one of their many conventions. They don't need to. This is something here that's, we're not going to give them vendors that are bringing in just Funko Pops they can get at Target. We're going to bring them in art. We're going to bring them toys that are unique. They're somewhat handmade. They're not something that you're going to buy at, a local big box store. And I think they really appreciated that. And they got to shake hands and talk to people like Bob Eggleton and John Yurcaba. And I think that was one of the things that we really hoped would happen, and it did. And that was great. And so the event started, it was crowded. It got really, that first 2 hours where the fans were just going up to the toy show and stuff. It was crowded. We learned some things on how to do flow. Don't put t-shirts in the corner, because you put them out in the middle, because it will cause log jams. And that was a big one. And some of the other things that we learned, obviously, Chaz and I will discuss and how we handle and stuff, but there was no major issues. There wasn't like, it was like running out of things. Right. And from most of the people I talked to, every one of them had a pretty darn good day, considering it was pretty light work. It's a one-day event. It's local to all of them. And a lot of the time when the movies were playing, it was pretty light up there, which is good. They could sell a lot in a little bit of time. And that was the goal. So, I hope all of them had a great time. But for the first 2 hours, it was vendors and drinks. And, and then I forgot, maybe the coolest thing is cosplay. Dude. And what an amazing costume. He was in his big Godzilla costume. You'd walk in, you could go take a picture with him in the theater before you go up, grab your cocktail and your stuff. And the venue there made a Kaiju Go cocktail, which was kind of cool. And everybody's having a good old time. And then 6:00 rolls around, and we're still waiting for people to get in. And there's people waiting to buy t-shirts and things of that nature. So we decided to delay the first movie for 15 minutes. But I don't know about you, but I hate when I go to these special events and it's like the movie's supposed to start at 6 and it's 6:05 and 6:10 and we don't hear anything. So on the schedule at 6:00, that's when I was originally going to go out there, give a rundown of the event, and 2 or 3 minutes, and then intro the movie and leave. And not intro like is giving facts and figures, just like, here's Mothra versus Godzilla, the end. Because we were going to have the big interview in between. So we decided, okay, let's delay the movie to get people a chance to get in, but let's not just sit there and not say anything. So we decided, and it was his idea originally, but then we actually got to put it into action. Bob Eggleton, our special guest, he could have just gone there and done as little as possible and had a grand old time. But no, because he's the hardest working man in the Godzilla business. He says he'll go intro the movie and give his facts and fun stuff about why he loves the movie and stuff. So we started at 6. I was there. Nobody was waiting. And we just gave the mic to him and Ryan Wilhelm, and they chatted for 15 minutes until it was time to run the movie. And it was all impromptu. And, you give Bob the mic, he'll tell you 800 stories, and it's amazing. And it wasn't killing time. It was getting these fascinating stories that, led into the movie. And so it was taking a negative and turning into a positive, a surprise and delight moment. And thank you to Bob and Ryan for that. But that's kind of what we did. And so after that, the movie came on, and the people cheered at the opening credits, the Toho Scope logo, all the stuff that you feel in a lot of these cool screenings. And then we have the interview in between the films. There's a little, some bathroom break time and stuff like that, some vendor time. But the interview, Ryan Wilhelm interviewed John Yurcaba and Bob Eggleton, and it was amazing. Guys, I've been to a lot of, celebrity type panels and interviews. This was one of the best. It was tight, it was succinct, but it gave Bob and John chances to share not only stories that were relevant to the questions, but also their mantras, their kind of macro level feelings of art in general. It was really cool. It wasn't a, hey, how did you start in art? And it wasn't just that. It was, what motivates you? What would you like to do? What really drives you to keep producing this beautiful art? And then we opened it up for Q&A and then the crowd had great questions. A lot of stuff of what's your favorite kaiju to draw, and what do you think of Godzilla -1? And there were some ones that stumped them even. Like, it was great, but great questions. And we did a giveaway, which was really cool, that Chaz and I were able to give away some really cool merchandise, some Mara-san toys, a Giga Brain Godzilla that Gary from Toy Matrix donated, and a signed print by Bob and John at Bangkok. It was really cool. And then we had a little bit of time before the final film of Godzilla versus Megalon. And I mean, I'm used to double features, and like the crowd kind of dwindles out for the second one. And it'd been a long day. A lot of people had been there since 4. And this last movie started at 9:45. They'd been in the sweaty room getting toys and shirts and stuff. Not a soul left, man. It was complete. Like, there was standing room only for both films, which warmed my heart. And so we were able to do that and pack up and everything while that movie was playing. And then, John Yurcaba was staying at our house, and we grabbed some Whataburger and went and we just chatted about the fun time and everything. And like, talking to John, I mean, he sold out of comics that he brought, his trade paperback that had just come out in like the first hour. I mean, the people were there and they were hungry for cool stuff that they couldn't just go get at their local store. And John and Bob were the best first guests that Kaiju Go could have asked for. Victory Comics, Michael Morse, David DeGrand, Mike Keller. You guys were the best artists that we could have asked for to come to this. Gary and Shop Black Market, and hopefully we get Tokyo Toy Town. We were the great toy sellers that needed to be there, and shirt sellers, and kind of filling in the gaps between the artists. Cosplay Odyssey was the best Godzilla there. No offense to 64 and 73, but Robert had more pictures taken of him than anything. It was amazing. And it just was a really great experience. I didn't expect that. Like, there's always risk when you do an event. Even if you have great people and a great idea, sometimes it can be challenging. And was it perfect? No, but it was damn near to me. And I really hope the next one that we can do in 2024 will be even better. We have so many ideas. Chaz and I have to talk about how can we improve, where can we improve, and really what does that look like. But that's exciting. And so Kaiju Go was wonderful. So I know I've talked long enough about all that good stuff, but that's kind of it. Got some good pickups. Got to have a really good night of kaiju stuff, and hopefully in 2 weeks I'll be able to chat to my buddy, the Tattooed Titan of Tokusatsu, Mr. Jacob Walsh, and we can get back on a regular schedule. So hopefully this was a good little small nugget of some content for you to enjoy before we come back in 2 weeks. But that's all I got, guys. Thank you so much. Please continue to subscribe to the channel. I had, 10 or 15 people come up to me and say they listen to the show and they love it. So let us know. If you were at Kaiju Go, let me know if you liked it or not. And we'll continue to iterate and optimize and get better. And we'll do the same on the show. I don't know. Jake and I, we're kind of a lost cause at this point. But anyway, I really did appreciate it. And like I said, if you can, like, subscribe, leave us a review. Go check out all the other stuff that we dabble in, YHS and Toy Anxiety and Tokyo Toy Town and Kaiju Go. And until then, man, I will see everybody in 2 weeks. Have a good one. Adios.